Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It is my pleasure today to speak to you about my private member's bill, which we will be discussing tonight at the second reading upstairs in the chamber. Bill 56, Fewer Floods, Safer Ontario Act. And essentially this bill is about education, prevention, and awareness. And it sets out to do three things: to create a Flooding Awareness Week, the final week of March, which is right now, and I would encourage you to look outside at the weather, which I think is in our favor to help us get this bill passed, and to ramp up Ontario's website, the Government of Ontario's website, with better education and on basement flooding mitigation measures, and also to hand out an infographic, which you will hear more about in a minute, that educates homeowners on measures that they can do to prevent basement flooding in their homes. And that will be distributed through the municipal property tax bills, we're hoping, and get into every Ontario home to help prevent what is the number one public emergency in Ontario, flooding. And to discuss more about the bill with you, I have been working hard with stakeholders, smart, savvy stakeholders, and we have Angela Coleman from Conservation Ontario. We have Catherine Bacchus and Blair Feltmate from the Intact Centre on Climate Adaptation at the University of Waterloo. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Catherine Bacchus. Thanks.
Thank you very much, MPP McMahon, and to all of you joining us today. It's a pleasure to be with you all. As MPP McMahon said, my name is Catherine Bacchus, and I'm Director, Climate Finance and Science at the Intact Centre on Climate Adaptation. For those of you unfamiliar with the Intact Centre, we are an applied research centre out of the University of Waterloo that helps homeowners, communities, businesses, and governments reduce risks associated with extreme weather events, particularly in relation to flooding, wildfire, and extreme heat. In regards to flooding, our team works to understand the formidability of the challenge and help those being impacted, as flooding is the costliest extreme weather event affecting Ontario residents. These costs are financial and social, and therefore providing flood preparedness information is imperative to build awareness and help homeowners and renters help themselves. And so our team at the Intact Centre fully supports Bill 56, Fewer Floods, Safer Ontario, as it will provide information to Ontario residents on ways that they can protect their homes from such events as basement flooding. For homes and communities, we know what to do. There is a wealth of knowledge and resources available to help homeowners and renters, while also guiding community development and maintenance to reduce the risk of flooding. As an example, this handout is the type of information that will be provided through Bill 56. In 3 easy steps, any homeowner can perform these actions for limited cost and time to reduce their risk of basement flooding. But how do we get this information out to more people? Well, that's exactly what Bill 56 sets out to do. As an example, this information can be provided in property tax mail-out notices, which has been done in towns and counties across Canada, and it can be done here in Ontario too, making Ontario a provincial leader in providing home flood protection information. I'm going to end my comments here and pass it over to my colleague, Dr. Blair Feltmate. But if you have any questions, I welcome them, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Catherine. And I just want to say a little bit about Bill 56, what's actually in it in reference to giving direction to homeowners into how to protect their homes from basement flooding. And as was mentioned, the number one cost of climate change in Canada, that which costs the most, is the peril is flooding, and the expression of the peril is residential basement flooding. But there's a lot that homeowners can do to not be a victim of circumstance to flood risk. And some of the actions outlined in the material that will be presented in the bill or promoted through the bill include actions that are as simple as, for example, if you have a sub pump in your basement, a little pump that sits in a well below the basement floor that if water got into the basement, it goes into the well and then pumps water outside. Check your sub pump ahead of the storm just to make sure it works. Many people find out that their sub pump is seized when they have 3.5 feet or 4.5 feet of sewer water in their basement. Or For windows that are at ground level, for which there's a window well, people can put plastic covers over those window wells that make it such that when the big storms hit, the water doesn't fill the window well and subsequently flow into the basement. Or if you have a sub pump, the time you need the sub pump to work is when the big storms hit. But very often when the big storms hit, the electricity goes out. So the time you need the sub pump to be available and working, it may not be available to you. So direction in the guidance in Bill 56 would be, one example of direction would be to have battery backup supply to run the sub pump for a period of 2 or 3 days in the event that the electricity goes out. So the actions that are promoted in the bill are those that can, for most homeowners, they can implement them over the course of a long weekend for very little money, requiring no special expertise. So there is only upside in reference to Bill 56 and eliminating risk, or almost eliminating risk, in reference to flooding that's affecting so many people in Ontario at this time. This is largely a solvable problem. Thank you.
And good afternoon. My name is Angela Coleman, and I'm the General Manager of Conservation Ontario. This afternoon, it brings me great pleasure to bring remarks from Conservation Ontario. Conservation Ontario is the provincial organization which represents the interests of Ontario's 36 conservation authorities. Conservation authorities play an instrumental role in flood protection in Ontario. We commend the commitment to public awareness and education to help mitigate flood risks. Our support today is nonpartisan in that we're committed to working with all members to make sure that this important work is a priority. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. In my view, this is particularly true when it comes to flood preparedness. We must be prepared for extreme weather and climate impacts as they take a costly toll on the well-being of Ontarians, our infrastructure, and the function of business and industry. Conservation authorities working together with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry are responsible at the local level to forecast floods, issue flood warnings, and operate flood control structures. We provide technical advice and support to municipalities, including first responders. We operate the dams, dikes, and water control structures to help keep Ontarians safe. Working with the province, we provide programs and services such as monitoring and flood forecasting to keep communities safe. We do a great deal of excellent work in this area, but we support this member's bill today because we do believe more can be done, and it begins with ensuring that residents have the information they need to ensure their families are safe. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these comments, and we remain available for your questions and concerns. Ontario has an important role to play as we ensure that our future generations are protected from floods, and conservation authorities are here to support this important work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we've heard from the experts. They've given us the cold, hard, and soggy facts on how we can help Ontarians. And so why wouldn't a member of provincial parliament support this? It is essentially a no-brainer. We can work collaboratively together and keep Ontarians safe. Thank you. We look forward to your questions, and we look forward to this bill, Private Members Bill 56, Fewer Floods, Safer Ontario, passing tonight in the House. Thank you.
No questions on the line.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much.